Welcome to Spider-Verse Minute, the tri-weekly podcast where we watch Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse 1 minute at a time. I'm Sean Slater.
And I'm his sister Caroline.
And today we open with minute 49, which starts with Peter taking back everything he just told Miles, and ending a minute later with Peter bemoaning teenagers.
I have titled this minute, A Terrible Moment.
It's not terrible for everybody, though.
It's a terrible moment.
Just for some of them.
I'm just saying it's a terrible moment.
Yeah.
There's actually quite a few things, like little detail things that I really enjoy about this minute.
Yeah.
So the first thing I want to talk about is when I didn't catch what Doc was saying to Kingpin while they were leaving the room, but it was like the finishing of the sentence. But I know Peter's, ooh, that's not good. Actually, everything she said was bad. I was lying before.
Yeah, and I liked how I kind of mentioned it at the end of last minute, how the directors were talking about how they wanted this to be a joke, but then they had to buy back the stakes. And this was their attempt at making the joke, making light of the situation and making the joke, and then immediately trying to buy back the stakes. Like, oh, actually, no, this is bad. You should. There are actually stakes here.
It's like, oh, wait a second. Well, it feels like a very Peter thing to do, of just I'm just trying to make the kid feel alright. This is standard. It's actually everything they said was terrible.
Yeah.
And then Peter very smoothly comes out of the vent.
Oh yeah, so smooth. He's done that a bajillion times before, obviously. Although
part of me wonders how did he slip past Miles so easily? Since they were really squished in together. I'm how did they...
We actually missed the 30 seconds of them trying to readjust so that he could...
They had to do a whole twister game in there.
Yeah.
And he immediately lands on the yoga ball.
Yes, and does a adorable little bounce. Just boop, boop, over to right where he needs.
And immediately goes with the clackety clackety clackety.
Yes.
I love that the types are called clackities.
Yeah, and they show him hunt and pecking again.
Mm-hmm. He's a very fast hunter and pecker, I'll give him that.
Yes. I mean, if he's been doing this for a while, or been doing it for a while, then, he's probably gotten pretty speedy with it.
He's pretty good with it. I do love how you can hear Doc in the background.
Yeah.
It's a nice little detail of just oh, it's a soundproof room. It's no, you can still hear them. And then Miles gets stuck to the lights.
And I love Peter's, little, what are you doing there, bud?
Yeah, it's what you doing, bud?
He sounds so, almost like a parent asking their kid what they're doing as they're doing something really stupid.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I love, the second glance he has to take at Miles, too. He glances up, and then he looks down, and then he glances up again, and he's what are you doing up there?
Yeah, it takes him a second to register what's actually going on.
Hold on a second. And, Miles is stuck and he's really struggling, and the lights start shaking like crazy. Which is hilarious to me. He's just relax, be in the moment. And Miles is I am in the moment. It's a terrible moment. Which I feel that.
Yeah.
Then it cuts to one of the things I love, which is we see Doc and Kingpin talking in the hallway, and you can actually see in the background Miles is struggling, and Peter waving his arms around trying to get him down.
Yeah, I love how the walls are slightly transparent, so you can see them walking around the corner, and you can see their shadows against the wall when we're inside of the lab, and then when we cut to Kingpin and the Doctor and Tombstone outside in the hallway and look in, you can see Peter and Miles' shadows. I guess it's just Miles' shadow.
No, you can see Peter's too.
Oh, okay. Bouncing around on the lights.
Yeah. Peter's arm is flailing, and I think he's at one point he kind of has an exasperated what are you doing sort of gesture.
The other thing I really liked was Kingpin takes up literally half of the screen.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And just, it's, he is just enormous.
He doesn't look like he would fit through many of these doors.
No, it
They
does not
never
look like.
actually show him walking through a lot of them. And it's like, how do you actually fit through these?
Very carefully.
Like a lot of skill. It's a little embarrassing. That's why he doesn't get shown doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it cuts back into, like you mentioned, when it cuts back into the lab, we can still see the Doctor and Kingpin's silhouettes outside. And not the first time I watched like the movie, but the first time I watched this minute, I'm like, wait, was that an error? Because we saw in the hallway they were really close, but then when it cuts back in the lab, they're shown on either side of the monitor. And I'm like, wait a second, they weren't that close. But then I remembered Kingpin turns and starts walking away.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, that makes sense then. Okay, yeah, he's walking away, and like we said, he takes up half of the screen. I don't expect it, like 2 steps. Yeah, he could be on the other side of that monitor to be seen. And Peter tells Miles that the way to get unstuck is to relax. And Miles, precious boy.
Yeah, he starts singing the
Sunflower for minute 3.
Yeah, and I love, like, just, it's a nice callback to that. Like, okay, that was Miles when he was just really relaxed, having a nice time, and so this is his, like, safe place to go to. And
yeah, it's a very clever callback and, like, a good way to introduce, like, having it played earlier and then seeing him kind of, like, just chill and relax and jam, and that it, like, makes sense to have it later. It's like, you need to relax? Okay, sing that. Like, we know. Like, it's a great connection.
And he still doesn't know any of the words.
No, I actually, while watching this minute, was kind of humming along, but I actually had the words going. I know this song better than Miles!
I mean, to be fair, it's only been a couple days for Miles. We've had a lot more time with the song than he has. But I love the way, like, his fingers pop off.
I love that.
How it's just, like, slowly, just one little finger at a time, and then he doesn't seem to, like, pick up that his left hand is free completely.
No,
and it's just like, oh yeah, getting into it now. And Peter's, like, exasperated facepalm.
When he falls?
Well, in the middle of it, when he starts singing.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Peter facepalms.
Yeah. It's like, oh, no. And then when his right hand gets free and he just plummets to the ground.
Yeah.
Which reminded me, first off, I thought that was hilarious. But second, it made me think of when we were talking about the alley scene.
Yeah.
And how you said that they were very careful to, like, have one of Miles's shoe off.
Yeah.
So he could be stuck to the ceiling. And it's like, here he has his sneakers on. So at first I'm like, wait, he's stuck with the lights there. It's like, oh wait, no, he's not. He just plummeted to the ground as soon as his hands were released.
Yeah. He's also got amazing core strength to be able to, like, hold himself up like that.
Right?
Like, that is a hard position to hold for any amount of time.
He's doing great with it.
Yeah, and then when he falls, Peter's got... that's when Peter just hates teenagers.
Size, teenagers are just the worst.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, kinda. This coming from someone who was, like, just recently a teenager.
Yeah, and then we get another, a good shot of the lab from behind Peter. And there's an earlier shot of the lab that shows a decent amount. One of the things that I actually hadn't noticed before until this was when Peter first swoops into the lab. On the desk, on the right side of the desk, we see one of the Doctor's robotic arms just laying on there.
I actually saw that in a later minute. I didn't see it in this.
It's there's one that shows up here.
We also see a few stuff on her desk, like a notebook, a rubber band ball, which actually made me really happy for some reason.
Yeah.
I'm like, that is a serious rubber band ball.
Yeah, so we see the first hint at who she really is, if you're not, like, expecting it. I wasn't.
I was not either
I
when
didn't
I
pick
first
up
saw
on this
it.
either. But, so we get the arm laying on the desk, and there's also just a bunch of octagons everywhere. I believe we already pointed out the lights being the octagons, but there's also like
Her
it looks.
Glasses. The
I guess we pointed out her glasses.
Her glasses are octagons. We pointed. I don't think we pointed this out, but like the hand scanners to open the doors are octagons.
Yeah, it almost looks like her desk lamp, the tall, clicky black one, might be an octagon, but it's a bit hard to tell. On the chair in her office, there's an octagon, some octagons on it. There's also the desk the table that Miles falls into is an octagon. I think she likes octagons, maybe.
Yeah, we have made jokes in previous minutes about how subtle this movie is.
Yeah.
But I won't lie, this one actually might be kind of subtle, because I never took note of this until now.
Yeah. It's a bit more subtle than some of the other stuff.
Yeah, like I never noticed how many octagons were in this room until I like was really watching the I'm like, oh my gosh, there's octagons everywhere. But this is definitely some of the more subtle imagery that this movie does, but even then it is very everywhere.
Yeah.
Look, you know what? She has a theme and she sticks to it, and I respect that.
It's, shape themes. You don't see that too often. Usually it's color themes with heroes and villains.
Yeah, and in her defense, like an octagon, good theme. Good theme for a scientist.
Yeah, and we also see how awarded of a scientist she is, I guess. Or like, you notice on her bookshelves in the back corner there's a lot of awards on it. It looks like one of them might be a Nobel Prize down on the bottom right hand corner of her shelf, and it looks like it's probably her diploma there as well, and then a couple other awards we see here. We also see some in some upcoming minutes, or in the next minute. But yeah, she gets a lot of awards.
She's a smart cookie.
For her work. Yeah, and the last thing I wanted to bring up was just the animators had some difficulty orienting themselves in this room when they were watching doing animation reviews, because of the walls being just like plain glass on all sides.
Yeah,
they hadn't, like, during the animation reviews, not everything's completely animated and rendered all the way through, and so they had difficulty figuring out which wall is that to? Is that the wall to like Kingpin and her? Or is that the one to the forest? Where's the one with the door again? And so one of the things they did was, like, to indicate which wall was the one with the woods behind it, they just stuck an orange rectangle there as a, like, hey, this is orange. Remember, the trees are orange.
Colors.
As a way, to try to help get themselves oriented properly. Which I thought was really funny. Just like, it's
funny, but also clever. And I could see this like without all the stuff in the room. Like, this room would be confusing.
Yeah,
it would be very confusing. It is a very bright room, which I kind of like that it's a very bright room.
Yeah, I feel like she doesn't need so many lights on because she's got that giant wall of glass behind her, and so that should provide plenty of light. She's just wasting electricity at this point.
I mean, I don't know, it's kind of cloudy out. Maybe she needs
That's how you can tell
something.
that she's working for the bad guys, is that she's got all these excess lights on. She's killing the environment. Gosh.
I was going to say, the reason I like that it's so bright is that I feel like it's such almost a stereotype that the villain laboratories are like kind of dark or tinted a weird color, and I'm like, no, this is so bright and cheerful. I'm like, I could see why people would want to work here.
Yeah.
Where like everyone else is like, why would anyone want to work here? This place is depressing. Like, everything has a green tint. Does that not make you sick?
There's mold coming off of the ceiling. Like,
there is an actual leak dripping onto the electronics. Like, someone's gonna die here, and it's not who we want to die.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a nice, bright lab, and I kind of love that.
Yeah, Falcom X wasn't evil. It doesn't look like it would be a bad place to work.
No, right? That's how you know they're evil. That is all I have for this minute. Do you have anything else?
No, that was all I had as well.
Alright. Thank you all for listening, and we will catch you on Wednesday with minute 50. See you next time.
Bye.